The morning sunlight poured through the tall windows of Reynolds Enterprises, casting long beams of light across the sleek marble floors. Thomas Reynolds, the company's young and ambitious CEO, had arrived early, as usual. Today was no ordinary day. As he strolled through the corridors, mentally reviewing the agenda for an important board meeting, his attention was suddenly caught by an unexpected sound coming from a small storage closet near the back hallway. It was a soft, melodic voice, speaking a language he didn't immediately recognize. Curiosity pricked at him, and without thinking much, Thomas quietly paused and leaned closer to the slightly open door. Inside, Lisa Jackson, the janitor, was talking on her phone, switching effortlessly between French, Spanish, Mandarin, Arabic, and several other languages, her voice calm yet confident. Thomas stood frozen for a moment, stunned that the woman he had barely noticed in his daily rush through the office was speaking 9 different languages as if it were the most natural thing in the world. He had passed by her hundreds of times, never guessing she held such an extraordinary talent beneath her janitorial uniform. Thomas couldn't help but be drawn into the conversation. Lisa's words were sharp and fluent, filled with expressions that showed a deep understanding of culture and nuance. It was clear she was no amateur. When she finally ended the call and started tidying up the hallway, she didn't realize the CEO was standing right outside. Thomas's mind raced. How had he never known about this? What else was she capable of? He decided then and there to learn more. Back in his office, Thomas replayed the moment in his head. His mind wandered to the times he had dismissed Lisa as just another employee doing her job, invisible to the higher-ups. Yet now he saw her in an entirely new light. He wondered what challenges she might have faced, what story lay beneath her quiet demeanor. This was more than a surprising moment. It was a spark that ignited something deeper in him. Lisa returned to her tasks, humming softly, unaware of the thoughts swirling around Thomas just a few feet away. She was used to being overlooked, to being underestimated. For years she had quietly carried a secret passion and a skill set that few around her could imagine. Growing up in Atlanta, Lisa had been fascinated by languages and cultures from an early age: books, movies, radio, broadcasts in different tongues. All of it was her escape and her education. Without formal training, she had taught herself to speak and understand 9 languages through sheer determination and endless practice. Her work as a janitor was something she took pride in, but it was also a necessity. Life had not been easy. Raised by a single mother who worked multiple jobs, Lisa learned early what hard work meant. She had dreams bigger than the mop and bucket, but survival came first. The corporate world was intimidating and often unwelcoming, especially for someone like her, a black woman with no college degree, holding a position typically invisible to the power players. Yet Lisa never let those barriers crush her spirit. Thomas, meanwhile, couldn't shake the image of Lisa's fluent multilingualism from his mind. He had always considered himself a champion of talent and diversity, but this encounter was a humbling reminder of how easy it was to overlook hidden gems in plain sight. That day he made a silent promise to himself. He would find a way to help Lisa rise beyond the walls she had been confined within. As the hours passed, Thomas watched from a distance as Lisa went about her duties with grace and diligence. He noticed the small kindnesses she extended to colleagues and visitors, often bridging language gaps or smoothing over misunderstandings with a simple phrase or patient smile. He realized her skill was not just linguistic, but deeply human. By late afternoon, Thomas's curiosity turned to resolve. He requested to meet with Lisa under the pretext of discussing company facilities. When she arrived at his office, he greeted her warmly, his demeanor sincere and respectful. "Lisa," he began, "I want to talk about something I discovered today that amazed me. You have incredible talents that this company has never recognized, and I want to explore how we can change that." Lisa blinked, surprised, unsure whether to trust the sudden attention. She was used to people ignoring her, doubting her abilities, or worse, treating her as invisible. But something in Thomas's eyes told her he meant it. They talked at length about her background, her skills, and her dreams. For the first time, Lisa felt truly seen. Before she left, Thomas made a promise. He would create an opportunity for her, a role where her talents could shine and benefit the company. "You deserve this chance," he said firmly, "and I'm going to make sure you get it." That evening, as Lisa locked up the cleaning closet, a mix of disbelief and hope swelled inside her. After years of silent perseverance, maybe this was the moment her life would finally change. She thought back to the long nights studying languages on tattered books, the sacrifices her mother had made, the quiet determination that had kept her going. Thomas, too, was already planning the steps ahead, knowing the journey wouldn't be easy, but believing deeply in the power of giving someone a chance when no one else would. This unexpected morning encounter was the beginning of a story that neither of them could have predicted, a story of talent uncovered, barriers broken, and the transformative power of recognition. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. What hidden talents have you discovered in unexpected places? This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? Lisa Jackson wiped down the conference room table with steady hands, her mind drifting back to where it all began. Growing up in a small neighborhood on the outskirts of Atlanta, her world was a mosaic of voices and stories. Her mother, a tireless woman who juggled 2 jobs to keep their small household afloat, often told Lisa that education was the key to breaking free from hardship. But books were scarce, and money even scarcer. Still, Lisa found her own way. From a young age, Lisa was enchanted by languages. The radio was her constant companion, and she would listen to broadcasts from faraway places, French jazz from Paris, Spanish soap operas from Mexico, Arabic news from the Middle East, Mandarin, pop songs from Beijing. She didn't understand every word at first, but she mimicked the sounds, practiced pronunciations in front of the cracked mirror of their tiny apartment. Languages became her secret world, a refuge from the challenges of growing up in poverty and facing the sting of prejudice. Each new phrase was a small victory, a step toward a future she hoped to build. Her mother had always encouraged her curiosity, even when the odds were stacked against them. "Learn everything you can, Lisa. Don't let anyone tell you who you are or what you can't do," her mother would say, worn hands resting gently on Lisa's head. But life was complicated. At school, Lisa often felt invisible, overlooked by teachers, underestimated by classmates. She was bright, yes, but her family's struggles weighed heavily on her, and college felt like a distant dream, not a reality. After high school, Lisa took whatever work she could find. Cleaning offices became her main source of income. The job was honest, steady, but not the future she had dreamed of. Still, she carried her languages like a quiet flame inside her. During breaks, she would pull out her tattered notebooks filled with phrases and grammar rules, studying by the dim light of a cracked phone screen. At night, she practiced conversations aloud in empty rooms. Her talent was raw, self-taught, and fiercely guarded. Despite her struggles, Lisa built friendships that mattered. Her closest friend, Maria, was a nurse who had immigrated from El Salvador and shared Lisa's passion for languages. They would spend weekends exploring the city's cultural festivals, practicing new dialects, and dreaming aloud about escaping their circumstances. For Lisa, these moments of connection were precious reminders that she wasn't alone in her quest, but the world outside their circle was less kind. Lisa encountered discrimination regularly, being ignored in meetings, overlooked for promotions, or treated like a ghost in the office. The janitorial closet, where she spent much of her day, was both a workplace and a barrier, a place where her voice was unheard, except in the languages she practiced when no one was around. It wasn't just the job itself that weighed on her, but the invisibility that came with it. Lisa often wondered what it would be like to be truly seen, to be recognized not just as a janitor, but as a person with dreams and talents. She kept these thoughts private, channeling her frustration into self-improvement. Her multilingual ability wasn't just a hobby, it was a lifeline. Lisa had used it in small but meaningful ways, helping out lost tourists, translating for co-workers, or even calming tense situations with a well-chosen phrase in someone's native tongue. She understood the power of language not just as words but as bridges between people. Yet despite these moments, she felt stuck. The turning point came a few months ago when Lisa saved a young immigrant girl from being lost in the city. The girl spoke only Vietnamese, and Lisa's ability to communicate and comfort her until the authorities arrived was a quiet heroism that went unnoticed by the company, but was deeply appreciated by the girl's family. It was in that moment Lisa realized her skills had value beyond her own ambitions. They could change lives. Still, she kept her hopes tempered. Life had taught her that opportunity rarely knocks twice. Her focus remained on doing her job well and keeping her dreams alive in secret. She was careful about whom she trusted, because vulnerability was a luxury she couldn't afford. Back at the office, Lisa's life was a balancing act. By day, she cleaned the halls and emptied trash bins. By night, she immersed herself in language lessons online, determined to keep growing. When Thomas Reynolds overheard her speaking those 9 languages, it was like an invisible thread snapped, pulling her out of the shadows. That moment with Thomas was unlike anything she had imagined. The genuine respect in his eyes when he invited her into his office was unfamiliar but welcome. For the first time, Lisa felt the weight of her years of hard work and sacrifice recognized not just as a curiosity, but as something valuable. It was a chance to break free from the confines of her current life, to prove to herself and the world that her potential was limitless. As she reflected on the journey that brought her here, Lisa felt a mixture of gratitude and cautious hope. The past hadn't been easy, but it had shaped her resilience. She understood what it meant to struggle, to persevere, and to hold on to dreams when everything around you seems determined to keep you down. Her family remained a cornerstone of strength. Lisa's mother, though tired from years of sacrifice, always encouraged her to believe in herself. Her younger brother, Marcus, looked up to her as a role model, his admiration fueling her determination. The bonds they shared were a reminder that her success would mean more than just personal achievement. It would honor the sacrifices made for her. Lisa knew the road ahead wouldn't be simple. Stepping into a new role, one that acknowledged her talents, would bring new challenges and scrutiny. But for the first time, she was ready to face them with the confidence that came from knowing her worth. That evening, as she sat at her modest kitchen table, a worn notebook open before her, Lisa smiled quietly to herself. The journey wasn't over, but she had taken the first bold step. The languages that once echoed only in empty rooms were now her bridge to a brighter future. Lisa's life shifted overnight, but not without turbulence. The day after her unexpected promotion, the office buzzed with whispers and sideways glances. Some colleagues looked at her with surprise, others with thinly veiled skepticism. The familiar janitor who once moved quietly through the halls was now a symbol of change, a challenge to the status quo that unsettled many. Thomas Reynolds, the CEO, had seen something in Lisa that transcended her job title. A rare intelligence, a fierce work ethic, and a depth of skill that could transform the company's global outreach. He had quickly moved to give her a role in the communications department, where her language talents would be invaluable. But not everyone shared his vision. From the moment she walked into the bright, glass-walled office, Lisa felt the weight of unspoken judgment. Her new colleagues were polite but distant, their conversations peppered with subtle doubts. "How did she get here?" whispered one manager under her breath. "Does she really belong in this role?" questioned another behind a closed door. Lisa caught the murmurs, but she refused to let them break her spirit. Inside, she wrestled, with a surge of conflicting emotions. Pride bubbled up, finally recognition for years of hidden effort, but it was tangled with anxiety. The promotion was a door she had long dreamed of opening, yet stepping through it meant confronting a world that wasn't always kind or fair. Her first big assignment was to lead a project coordinating with international partners. Lisa threw herself into the work, translating contracts, negotiating with clients in their native tongues, and bridging cultural gaps that had long hindered communication. Her ability to switch seamlessly between French, Arabic, Mandarin, and Spanish astonished even the most seasoned executives. At first, the results spoke for themselves. Deals that had stalled for months suddenly moved forward. The company began to explore markets it had previously ignored, thanks to Lisa's insights and skillful diplomacy. But success bred envy. Some co-workers whispered that she was a lucky janitor who got undeserved breaks. Others openly questioned Thomas's judgment, suggesting favoritism or a PR stunt. The tension came to a head during a high-stakes meeting with a major overseas client. Lisa was poised, prepared, and confident as she greeted the delegation in their native language. Midway through the presentation, a senior executive from her own company interrupted sharply, undermining her points and questioning her expertise in front of everyone. The room fell silent, eyes darting between Lisa and her critic. For a moment, the familiar sting of invisibility threatened to resurface, but Lisa steadied herself. She took a slow breath, met the executive's gaze, and calmly rebutted with facts and examples, her voice clear and unwavering. The client smiled, approvingly, impressed by her professionalism and knowledge. The project moved forward, but the confrontation left Lisa shaken. That night she called Maria, her oldest friend and confidant. "It's harder than I thought," Lisa admitted, her voice heavy. "People don't just doubt me. Some actively try to push me down. I didn't expect the promotion to be this lonely." Maria's voice was steady and encouraging. "You're breaking barriers, Lisa. That's never easy. Remember why you're here. Not just for you, but for everyone who's been overlooked. Keep pushing. We've got your back." The support helped, but it didn't erase the daily battles. Lisa found herself working longer hours, double-checking every detail, anticipating criticism before it came. She became hyper-aware of her every move, feeling as if she had to prove herself twice as hard just to be seen as half as capable. Despite the strain, moments of hope flickered. One afternoon, a junior staffer named Emily approached Lisa with a tentative smile. "I just wanted to say, you inspire me. I never thought someone like me could make it here, but watching you, it feels possible." Lisa's heart swelled. "Thank you, Emily. That means more than you know. We all deserve a chance." As the weeks passed, Lisa began to find allies, colleagues who recognized her talent and admired her determination. Together, they pushed for more inclusive policies, workshops on cultural awareness, and language training programs. Lisa's presence was not just changing business outcomes, but shifting the company culture bit by bit. Yet the conflicts didn't disappear. Some days were battles against outdated mindsets and covert bias. Lisa often wondered if her promotion was a double-edged sword, a beacon of hope to many but a lightning rod for resistance. Then came a crisis that tested everything. A critical contract with a European partner was on the brink of collapse after a mistranslation nearly derailed negotiations. Tempers flared, and blame was cast in every direction. Lisa was called into an emergency meeting. The pressure was immense. If she couldn't fix the misunderstanding, months of progress would unravel. Drawing on every ounce of experience, Lisa carefully re-examined the documents, consulted native speakers, and crafted a plan to clarify terms in ways that respected cultural nuances. She reached out personally to the client's representatives, speaking not just their language, but their concerns and priorities. After tense days filled with back-and-forth communication, the contract was salvaged. The partners expressed renewed trust, and the company breathed a collective sigh of relief. Lisa's role was acknowledged publicly by Thomas, who praised her quick thinking and dedication. But even this triumph came with a cost. Exhausted and emotionally drained, Lisa realized the path she had chosen was not for the faint of heart. The road to acceptance was long, filled with setbacks and victories woven tightly together. One evening, standing alone by the window of her small apartment, Lisa reflected on the journey. The conflict she faced was not just about a job. It was a battle against the invisible barriers that had kept her and so many others confined. Yet she felt a fierce resolve burning within her. She wasn't just fighting for herself, she was carving out a space for those who came after her. The whispers and doubts from others could no longer silence the voice inside her that knew her worth. The rising conflict was a storm, yes, but it also carried the promise of change. With every challenge, Lisa grew stronger, more certain that her story was just beginning. As she prepared for the next day, Lisa's mind was already planning the steps ahead, new partnerships to explore, new languages to master, and new barriers to break. The journey was far from over, but now she faced it armed with resilience, skill, and an unshakable hope that the future held something better, not just for her, but for everyone who dared to dream beyond their circumstances. The weeks that followed Lisa's hard-won victories felt like stepping into an entirely new world, one filled with challenges she hadn't anticipated and opportunities that stretched her in every direction. Thomas Reynolds, the CEO who had first heard her speak 9 languages in the hallway and immediately recognized her rare talent, had made it clear Lisa was now a vital part of the company's global vision. But with that came responsibilities and pressures unlike anything she'd ever experienced before. Early one crisp morning, Lisa found herself standing on the tarmac at the city's international airport, clutching a folder filled with contracts and cultural notes. She was about to embark on her first overseas business trip, a whirlwind journey to several countries where the company hoped to expand. The airport buzzed with the hum of travelers, announcements echoing in multiple languages overhead. Lisa felt a thrill of anticipation mixed with nerves. This wasn't just a job anymore, it was a mission, one she would navigate in 9 languages, crossing borders and breaking barriers, both literal and metaphorical. Her first stop was Paris, the city of light and culture. The air smelled of fresh croissants and rain-soaked cobblestones as she stepped into the bustling streets. It was a sharp contrast from the sterile office towers back home. Lisa thrived on this sensory richness, the swirl of voices, the elegant curves of old architecture, the way language seemed to dance differently here. She met with potential partners at a grand hotel overlooking the Seine, effortlessly switching between French, English, and Spanish as she negotiated terms and built relationships. The meetings flowed smoothly, and Lisa's confidence soared. She was no longer the quiet janitor overheard speaking languages in the hallway. She was a force to be reckoned with. But the journey was far from easy. In the days that followed, she traveled to Berlin, then Dubai, then Shanghai, each city presenting its own unique challenges. In Berlin, she navigated the precise and often rigid business etiquette, carefully choosing words in German to avoid offending proud executives. In Dubai, she learned the nuances of Arabic formalities, balancing respect with assertiveness in negotiations. In Shanghai, the rapid-fire Mandarin exchanges pushed her linguistic skills to the limit. Jet lag and cultural adjustments wore on her body and spirit, but she refused to slow down. Each success felt like a small victory in a much larger battle for recognition, not just for herself but for everyone who had been underestimated. On one particularly exhausting evening in Shanghai, Lisa found herself alone in a quiet park, the city lights twinkling through the haze. She sat on a bench, thinking about how far she'd come, from sweeping floors in an office building to steering multi-million-dollar deals on the global stage. But the journey also revealed something she hadn't fully faced before, the loneliness of being the only one who looked like her, the only one whose path had been so steep and fraught. That night, she opened a message from Thomas. "Proud of how you're handling everything, Lisa. This is just the beginning. We believe in you." His words rekindled her strength. She wasn't alone, she had allies. More importantly, she had a purpose. But the climax of this journey came unexpectedly in a small conference room in Dubai, during a meeting that would decide the company's future in the Middle East. The room was filled with sharply dressed executives, clients and translators, all watching Lisa intently as she prepared to present the final proposal. Halfway through, a technical glitch cut the translation equipment. Tensions rose immediately. The room, which had been polite and patient, grew restless. Clients exchanged worried glances. Business was on the line and communication had just faltered. Lisa could feel the pressure mounting like a tightening knot in her stomach. Without hesitation, Lisa rose, her voice calm but commanding. "Let me take over." She began to speak directly in Arabic, fluid and confident, her words weaving clarity and trust where confusion had taken root. The clients relaxed, nodding, some even smiling as she navigated the nuances of their concerns, answering questions without the need for a device. Her command of language transcended mere words. It was a bridge of empathy, understanding, and respect. By the end of the meeting, the clients were convinced. Deals were signed. The company's expansion was secured. Applause broke out, and Thomas gave Lisa a proud look from across the room. The moment was electric, a turning point not just in business but in Lisa's life. Returning home weeks later, Lisa felt transformed. The physical exhaustion lingered, but a new energy fueled her, a belief that she was exactly where she was meant to be. She wasn't just a survivor of circumstance. She was a leader, a trailblazer, rewriting the story for herself and others. Yet, even as she basked in the glow of success, Lisa knew the journey ahead would require more than language skills and sharp business acumen. It demanded courage to face systemic barriers, wisdom to mentor others, and a heart open to both triumph and failure. Back in the familiar city streets, the office building no longer felt confining. Each hallway was a pathway to possibilities. Each face, a potential ally or a challenge to overcome. Lisa was ready to meet them all. The climactic journey was far from over. It was evolving into a life's mission. With every language she spoke and every culture she bridged, Lisa was not just building a career, she was crafting a legacy. The moment that changed everything happened on a quiet Thursday afternoon, a day that began like any other, but ended with a revelation so powerful it shook the foundations of the entire company. Lisa had been working late, preparing for a critical presentation that would put the firm on the map in South America. The conference room was packed with executives, investors, and stakeholders, all waiting for the final numbers, the forecast, and the strategy. Lisa stood at the front, poised and confident. She had done her homework, studied every detail, every market trend, and every cultural nuance. She was ready. But then the unexpected happened. A sudden blackout plunged the entire building into darkness. The hum of computers died. Emergency lights flickered on, and the murmurs in the room grew louder, tinged with unease. Without the slides, the charts, or the projected data, many assumed the meeting would be cancelled or postponed. Investors shifted uncomfortably, whispering doubts. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest, not because she was scared, but because this was her moment to show that real strength and leadership go far beyond PowerPoint. "I'll continue," she said clearly, her voice steady in the silence. The room quieted down, all eyes on her. Lisa began to speak, not from a script, but from years of experience, intuition, and genuine passion. She spoke about the human side of business, how trust, communication, and cultural understanding were the true keys to success in international markets. She switched seamlessly between English, Portuguese, and Spanish, connecting with the investors on a level far beyond numbers. Just as she was hitting her stride, a soft commotion at the back of the room caught her attention. Thomas Reynolds, the CEO, was standing there, his usual reserved demeanor replaced with something almost electric. As Lisa spoke, his eyes glistened with pride and admiration. This was more than just a presentation. It was a revelation of a leader who had been hidden in plain sight. After the meeting ended, applause echoed through the hall, but the real surprise was yet to come. Thomas asked Lisa to stay behind. The other executives left, whispers of excitement trailing in their wake. When the room was empty, except for the two of them, Thomas smiled and said, "Lisa, what you just did, it was extraordinary. You didn't just save that meeting, you inspired everyone here. We need to talk about your future with this company." Lisa felt a mix of relief and disbelief. For so long she had lived with the quiet hope that her talents might be recognized. Now, in this charged moment, all that hope exploded into something undeniable. Then Thomas leaned in and shared a secret that few knew, a decision he had made weeks earlier but kept private until he was sure. The company was launching a new global division, and Lisa was the perfect person to lead it. "You've got the vision, the skill, and the heart to make this happen," he said. "We're going to give you the resources, the team, and the authority. This is your chance to change everything." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes, not just because of the promotion, but because of the validation. This was more than a job. This was a chance to rewrite her story and to inspire others like her. The emotional climax of her journey wasn't just about professional achievement. It was about breaking free from years of invisibility, from assumptions and limitations placed on her by society. It was about proving that intelligence, ambition, and leadership come in many forms, often where least expected. In the days that followed, the news of Lisa's promotion spread throughout the company, sparking conversations and shifting perceptions. Colleagues who once saw her only as the janitor now looked at her with newfound respect and curiosity. Some were inspired, others skeptical, but Lisa was undeterred. She understood that this was just the beginning of a larger battle for equity and recognition. At home, Lisa reflected on how far she had come, from wiping floors to leading global strategies. Her family celebrated her success, proud but aware of the challenges still ahead. She thought about the young girls in her neighborhood, the ones who might never hear of someone like her, who might never believe they could achieve something similar. This realization fueled her determination to use her platform not just for business success, but for real social impact. Lisa began speaking at schools and community centers, sharing her story and encouraging others to pursue their dreams despite obstacles. She mentored young professionals, especially women of color, helping them navigate corporate cultures and find their own voices. Her story became a beacon of hope, a testament to resilience and the power of unseen talents. Through it all, Lisa never forgot the janitor she once was, or the languages she'd taught herself in secret. They were her roots, her strength, and her identity. And now, as she stood on this new stage, she was ready to lead with empathy, courage, and the fierce pride of someone who had fought hard for her place in the world. This emotional climax wasn't just a personal victory. It was a moment that resonated far beyond the walls of the company, reminding everyone that greatness often comes from the most unexpected places, and that true leadership is about lifting others as you rise. The days after the announcement were a whirlwind for Lisa. The promotion came with new responsibilities, new challenges, and a whole new world to navigate. She went from moving quietly through the halls as the janitor often overlooked, to stepping into boardrooms filled with sharp minds and high stakes. At first it felt overwhelming, like being thrust into a spotlight she had only dreamed of. But deep inside, she carried a calm resolve, a strength built from years of perseverance and quiet determination. Lisa's first weeks leading the new global division were a test of everything she had learned, about business, about people, and about herself. She worked tirelessly, sometimes late into the night, coordinating teams across time zones, negotiating deals, and crafting strategies that reflected not just profit margins, but values of inclusivity and respect. She wanted this division to be different, to be a place where talent from every background could thrive, where voices often ignored would be heard loud and clear. The transformation wasn't easy. Some colleagues resisted the change, skeptical of her rapid rise and unconventional background. There were moments when doubt crept in, moments when the weight of expectations threatened to pull her under. But Lisa reminded herself of that dark night when the power went out and she found her voice. That moment had shown her she was capable of far more than she'd ever believed. With each success, the division grew stronger, gaining attention from clients and competitors alike. Lisa's leadership style, firm yet empathetic, earned her respect and loyalty. She held regular meetings not just to discuss targets but to listen, to learn about her team's struggles, their dreams, their ideas. She knew that true leadership was about connection and trust, not just commands. Outside of work, Lisa found time to reflect on the journey that had brought her here. She thought about her family, the sacrifices they had made, and the community that had shaped her. She remembered her mother's words, "No matter where you start, what matters is where you're going, and who you lift up along the way." Those words became her guiding light. Lisa also began to understand the power of her story. It wasn't just about her. It was about breaking down stereotypes and barriers that kept people trapped in narrow definitions of who they could be. She started speaking at events, sharing her journey with students, young professionals, and anyone willing to listen. Her message was simple but profound. Never underestimate yourself, and don't let others define your worth. One afternoon, as she walked through the building that had once been her entire world, Lisa saw a group of janitors chatting near the supply closet. She paused, remembering how invisible she had once felt. Now she smiled warmly and greeted them by name. The surprise and gratitude in their eyes reminded her why she fought so hard to create opportunities, not just for herself, but for others like her. Her story began to ripple beyond the company walls. Local news outlets picked up her journey, highlighting the importance of recognizing hidden talents and fostering diversity in the workplace. Lisa was invited to panels, interviews, and leadership forums, becoming a voice for change in a world that desperately needed it. Yet even amidst success, Lisa remained grounded. She knew that every step forward was built on resilience, on the quiet moments of struggle no one saw. She cherished the small victories, the smile of a young intern she mentored, the thank you note from a colleague inspired by her story, the moments when a previously skeptical manager reached out for advice. The resolution of Lisa's journey wasn't about a final destination, but about ongoing growth. She learned that leadership meant embracing vulnerability, acknowledging mistakes, and continuously pushing boundaries. It meant understanding that success was sweeter when shared, and that the true measure of achievement was the positive impact one made on others. As the company prepared for its next big expansion, Lisa stood ready, not just as a CEO, but as a symbol of possibility. She knew there would be new challenges ahead, new battles to fight, but she also knew she was no longer alone. Behind her stood a team inspired by her courage, a community uplifted by her example, and a future full of promise. In quiet moments, Lisa reflected on the lessons life had taught her, that greatness often hides in unexpected places, that courage can emerge from the humblest beginnings, and that every voice deserves to be heard. Her journey had come full circle, from a janitor speaking 9 languages in solitude to a leader breaking barriers and shaping futures. Her story ended not with a period, but with an invitation to dream bigger, to challenge assumptions, and to believe in the extraordinary potential within every person. Life, Lisa often said in her speeches, is not about the titles you hold, but the hearts you touch and the change you inspire. And with that, Lisa stepped forward into the next chapter, ready to lead with passion, purpose, and the unshakable belief that every story matters. Lisa's new role brought with it a level of responsibility she had never imagined. The company was expanding into international markets, and she was at the helm of it all, guiding strategies that would shape the future of the firm. The pressure was intense, but rather than buckle under it, Lisa saw it as an opportunity, a chance to prove that her rise was not a fluke, but the result of hard work, vision, and unyielding determination. Each morning she arrived at the office early, her mind buzzing with ideas and plans. The global teams she now led were scattered across continents, each with their own challenges and cultural nuances. Lisa found herself learning more every day, not just about markets or products, but about people. She realized that understanding others' perspectives was just as important as the numbers on a spreadsheet. One of her first major projects was to establish a multilingual customer support center that could serve clients from all over the world. The goal was ambitious, but Lisa knew exactly where to find the talent, the very janitors she once worked alongside. Many of them were immigrants, fluent in multiple languages, with rich life experiences that companies often overlooked. Lisa pitched the idea to the board, her passion clear in every word. "We have a hidden resource right under our noses," she said. "These employees already understand our building, our culture, and they bring a wealth of language skills and empathy. It's time we recognize and invest in that." The board was skeptical. Some questioned the feasibility, others worried about disrupting existing teams. But Lisa was relentless. She arranged pilot programs, conducted workshops, and slowly won over doubters by showing tangible results. Customer satisfaction scores improved, and new clients were drawn in by the personalized service. This project was more than a business initiative. It was a mission to give people a chance to rise beyond their assigned roles, just as she had. She made sure to personally mentor many of the employees who transitioned from maintenance and custodial work to frontline customer care, encouraging them to pursue certifications and further training. Yet not everything was smooth. Lisa encountered subtle resistance, especially from upper management who saw her approach as too idealistic. Some whispered that she was playing favorites, others that she was risking the company's reputation. Lisa felt the sting of those doubts, but refused to let them deter her. One afternoon, during a meeting with senior executives, a particularly harsh critique came from one board member named Charles. "This isn't a charity," he snapped. "We're here to maximize profits, not social experiments. If you want to gamble with company resources, that's your call. But don't expect everyone to follow blindly." Lisa met his gaze steadily. "I believe our greatest assets are our people," she replied. "When we invest in them, especially those overlooked, we build loyalty, innovation, and long-term growth. So I'm not gambling, I'm planting seeds." Though the tension was thick, her conviction won quiet respect. Over time, as results improved, even skeptics began to acknowledge the wisdom in her approach. Amid these battles, Lisa's personal life quietly shifted too. She reconnected with her younger brother, Marcus, who had struggled with his own career setbacks and had once doubted Lisa's ambitions. Now, seeing her success and grounded humility, Marcus reached out, seeking advice and support. Their relationship, once strained by distance and misunderstandings, blossomed into a source of strength. Lisa also found solace in her longtime friend and confidant, Tanya, who reminded her to find balance. Tanya urged Lisa to take breaks, to celebrate small wins, and to nurture the joy often lost in corporate battles. Together, they would share dinners filled with laughter, stories, and dreams of what could still be. Through it all, Lisa never forgot the moment that changed everything, the night she spoke those 9 languages in the dark hallway and was overheard by the CEO. That moment taught her that sometimes life's most profound opportunities come unexpectedly and require us to be ready, to speak up, to act boldly, to embrace the unknown. With this lesson in mind, Lisa began encouraging her teams to share their ideas fearlessly. She held voice sessions where employees at all levels could propose innovations without fear of judgment. The results were inspiring. Fresh ideas emerged, from sustainable packaging to new digital tools, fueling the company's growth and culture. One particularly bright idea came from a former janitor named Carlos, who suggested using AI-driven translation software integrated with live agents to provide even faster, more accurate support. Lisa championed the project, and it became one of the company's flagship services, drawing international acclaim. Despite these successes, Lisa remained humble. She often reflected on the challenges she faced early on, the feeling of invisibility, the long hours cleaning floors, the isolation. Those memories grounded her, fueling empathy and a fierce commitment to fairness. Her story soon caught the attention of the wider business community. She was invited to speak at conferences, to share her journey and philosophy. In these moments, she always emphasized the importance of looking beyond resumes and titles, urging leaders to find and nurture hidden talents wherever they may be. Sometimes, she said in one keynote, the greatest leaders are not those in corner offices, but those who listen, who see potential in places others overlook. Success is not just about climbing ladders, it's about lifting others as you rise. As the year progressed, Lisa's influence continued to grow. The company not only expanded its global footprint, but became known as a leader in corporate inclusivity and innovation. Lisa's leadership proved that compassion and business acumen could go hand in hand. Through every challenge and triumph, Lisa remembered that her journey was about more than just personal achievement. It was about rewriting what was possible. For herself, for those who had been silent too long, and for a future where no one's voice went unheard. Standing at her office window one evening, watching the city lights twinkle, Lisa smiled. The path hadn't been easy, but it had been worth every step. Ahead lay more challenges, more opportunities to grow and give back, and she was ready. Because now, Lisa knew the truth that had carried her all along. Sometimes the smallest voices hold the loudest power. And the most unexpected beginnings lead to the greatest destinies. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough? The weeks following Lisa's successful launch of the multilingual customer support center were filled with both excitement and new challenges. Her role now demanded not just management, but visionary leadership, one that could navigate the complexities of a rapidly growing company, while staying true to the values that had driven her from the start. Every day brought meetings with international partners, brainstorming sessions with diverse teams, and moments where she had to make tough decisions that affected hundreds of lives. Lisa thrived on the whirlwind, but beneath her calm exterior, she grappled with the pressure to prove that her unexpected rise was more than luck. Some days, the weight of expectations pressed down so hard, she barely recognized the woman staring back at her in the mirror. Yet she reminded herself of the janitor she once was, the woman who cleaned floors silently and spoke 9 languages, without recognition. That woman was still inside her, fueling a fire that no title or stress could extinguish. One afternoon, while reviewing expansion plans for the company's new European office, Lisa received a call from the CEO, Mr. Reynolds. He sounded urgent and somewhat uncharacteristically tense. "Lisa, I need you to come to my office. There's something important we need to discuss." Her heart skipped a beat. Over the months, her interactions with Reynolds had grown from distant formality to mutual respect. She wondered if this was another test or an opportunity. She made her way through the sleek corridors of the headquarters, trying to steady her thoughts. Reynolds greeted her with a rare, genuine smile and gestured to a chair. "Sit down, Lisa. I want to tell you something I've been meaning to say since the day I overheard you speaking those languages." Lisa nodded, curious but cautious. "You've changed this company in ways I didn't anticipate. Your idea to harness untapped talent, your leadership, it's transformed our culture and our bottom line. I want you to know I'm fully behind you. In fact, I'm recommending you for a seat on the board." Lisa blinked, stunned. A seat on the board meant she would be shaping the company's highest level of decisions. So it was a recognition she hadn't dared to dream of when she first walked into the building as a janitor. "Thank you," she finally said, voice steady but filled with emotion. "I won't let you down." Reynolds nodded. "I know you won't. And there's one more thing. Your story has inspired a lot of people here. I want to start a company-wide initiative to identify hidden talents and support career growth at every level. You'll lead it." Lisa felt a swell of pride and responsibility. This was her chance to make a lasting impact beyond just one department. To create a culture where no one's potential was ignored. In the days that followed, Lisa threw herself into planning the initiative. She met with HR, diversity officers and team leaders, crafting programs for mentorship, skill development, and inclusive hiring. The goal was clear. Every employee should have the chance to grow regardless of their starting point. But as excitement built, resistance simmered beneath the surface. Some longtime employees saw the new programs as a threat to their positions. Others grumbled that the focus on inclusion slowed progress or diluted standards. Lisa encountered skepticism and even outright hostility in certain meetings. It was a reminder that change, no matter how positive, was rarely easy. Determined, Lisa chose dialogue over confrontation. She hosted open forums where employees could voice concerns and ask questions. She shared stories of colleagues who had risen through the ranks, illustrating how diversity and opportunity strengthened the company. Slowly, attitudes began to shift. Outside work, Lisa's personal life grew richer, but also more complex. Her relationship with Marcus deepened as they supported each other through challenges. Tanya's friendship remained a vital source of balance, helping Lisa unwind and find joy outside the office. One evening, after a particularly long day, Lisa found herself sitting alone on her apartment balcony, the city lights sparkling below. Her thoughts drifted to the journey she had taken, from janitor to leader, from invisible to influential. She thought of the countless people still waiting for their chance, and she vowed to be their advocate. Suddenly, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Carlos, the former janitor, whose AI translation idea had become a success. "Got some ideas?" for expanding the program. Can we meet? Lisa smiled. She knew that no matter how far she climbed, the strength of her team and the bonds they built together would carry them forward. The next day, Lisa and Carlos sat in a sunlit conference room, brainstorming new ways to leverage technology and human talent. Their conversation flowed effortlessly, fueled by shared vision and passion. They discussed partnerships with universities, workshops to teach coding and language skills, and a mentorship network linking new hires with seasoned employees. Each idea was a step toward a future where opportunity was not just a privilege for the few, but a right for all. As the months passed, Lisa's initiative gained momentum. Stories of transformation emerged. Employees who once cleaned floors now leading projects, interns from underrepresented communities landing permanent roles, teams collaborating across languages and cultures with newfound ease. Lisa attended each event with pride but also humility. She never forgot her roots or the chance encounter that had changed her life. It was a reminder that greatness could emerge from the most unexpected places, and that true leadership was about lifting others as you rise. One morning, as Lisa prepared for a keynote speech at a major conference, she looked out over the packed auditorium. Faces of all ages and backgrounds filled the room, waiting to hear her story. Taking a deep breath, she began, "What if I told you the person who cleans your office floors could also lead your company's global strategy? What if I told you that behind every uniform is a story, a talent, a potential waiting to be discovered?" The audience leaned in, captivated. Lisa spoke not just about her journey, but about the power of belief, resilience, and inclusion. She challenged leaders to look beyond titles and resumes, to listen to voices often ignored, and to build workplaces where everyone could thrive. When she finished, the applause was thunderous. But more than the claps, Lisa felt a profound connection, a shared commitment to change. Backstage, Tanya hugged her tightly. "You did it," she whispered. "You're changing the world." Lisa smiled, tears shining in her eyes. "We're changing it, together." Walking out into the bright lights, Lisa knew the path ahead would have obstacles, but also endless possibilities. She was ready to face them, fueled by the knowledge that every voice mattered, every story counted, and every person deserved a chance to shine. And with that, Lisa's story was no longer just her own. It was a beacon of hope for all who dreamed of breaking barriers and rewriting their destinies. The momentum Lisa had built within the company began to ripple far beyond its walls. Her keynote speech sparked conversations in boardrooms, cafeterias, and conference centers across the country. Invitations poured in from organizations eager to learn how to replicate her success in uncovering hidden talent. Yet, amid this whirlwind of recognition, Lisa stayed grounded, focused on the work still ahead. One particular morning, as she settled into her office overlooking the city skyline, her assistant knocked gently and handed her an envelope. The letterhead was unfamiliar, official. Curiosity piqued, Lisa opened it carefully. Inside was an invitation to speak at an international summit on diversity and leadership in New York, alongside some of the most influential business leaders and policymakers. The summit promised to be a pivotal moment, not just for Lisa's career, but for the mission she had come to embody. Preparation for the summit became an all-consuming task. Lisa pored over speeches, rehearsed answers to tough questions, and coordinated with her team to showcase the company's latest programs. But beneath the professional rigor, a deeper worry gnawed at her. She knew this was more than just a platform. It was a test of her ability to influence systems far larger and more complex than her company alone. The day of the summit arrived, and Lisa found herself backstage amidst a sea of suits and polished smiles. Her heart raced as she listened to speakers praising innovation, inclusion, and global cooperation. When it was her turn, she stepped onto the stage with steady resolve, recalling the janitor she had been, the woman whose voice had been almost invisible and yet spoke 9 languages fluently. That woman was now speaking for thousands who lacked a seat at the table. Lisa began by sharing her personal story, a tale of perseverance, unexpected opportunity, and the transformative power of belief. She spoke candidly about the challenges she faced, resistance within her company, doubts cast by others, and moments when she questioned if she was enough. But she also spoke of hope, unity, and the extraordinary potential that flourishes when barriers are broken down. Her words resonated deeply with the audience. Leaders nodded in agreement, some wiped tears from their eyes, and many approached her afterward eager to partner, learn, or simply express gratitude. The summit became a catalyst for new alliances, funding for community programs, and a renewed, global conversation about equity and leadership. Returning home, Lisa was buoyed by the summit's success, but aware that the real work was ongoing. Back at the company, she faced new complexities, scaling programs internationally, ensuring quality and consistency, and navigating cultural differences. Yet, her team's dedication and shared vision made even the hardest days bearable. One evening, as she reviewed reports late into the night, Lisa received an unexpected message from a young employee named Jasmine. Jasmine was one of the many who had benefited from Lisa's initiative. A shy, brilliant woman who had started as a receptionist and was now excelling in project management. Jasmine's note expressed heartfelt thanks, recounting how Lisa's belief had changed her life, inspiring her to pursue dreams she once thought unreachable. The message stirred something deep in Lisa, a reaffirmation of why she had started this journey. It wasn't about titles or accolades, but about lifting others, transforming lives one step at a time. She decided to visit the floor where Jasmine worked the next day to see firsthand the impact of her efforts. Walking through the buzzing office, Lisa felt a surge of pride and humility. Employees from diverse backgrounds communicated fluently across languages, collaborated effortlessly, and celebrated each other's successes. It was a living testament to what was possible when talent was nurtured and given space to grow. Jasmine greeted Lisa with a warm smile and a nervous excitement. As they talked, Lisa realized how much more there was to learn from those on the front lines. Insights about challenges, opportunities, and dreams that no report could capture. She vowed to create more direct channels for communication, ensuring every voice could be heard, but with progress came pressure. Some investors began questioning the costs associated with the expanded programs. Shareholders wanted faster profits, and the media started scrutinizing every decision. Lisa found herself in tense meetings, where she had to defend the value of inclusion and long-term growth against short-term financial demands. One particularly difficult afternoon, after a grueling board meeting, Lisa retreated to her office, the weight of expectation heavier than ever. She stared out at the city lights, wondering how she could balance the competing demands without losing sight of her mission. Her phone buzzed. It was a video message from her mother, a woman who had raised Lisa with stories of resilience and pride in their heritage. Her mother's words were simple but powerful. Remember who you are. Your strength comes from where you've been, and your future will be brighter because of it. That evening, Lisa found renewed determination. She called a meeting with her leadership team, sharing her vision for sustainable growth that honored the company's values. Together, they brainstormed creative solutions to demonstrate the financial benefits of diversity and inclusion, crafting metrics and case studies to present to stakeholders. Lisa also prioritized self-care, understanding that to lead effectively, she had to nurture her own well-being. She resumed yoga classes, spent quiet mornings journaling, and made time for Marcus and Tanya, whose unwavering support grounded her. As months passed, Lisa's efforts began to bear fruit. The company reported improved employee satisfaction, increased innovation, and growing market share in diverse communities. Stories of individual triumphs multiplied, each a thread in the tapestry of change she was weaving. Yet Lisa never lost sight of the janitor she once was, a reminder that greatness often hides in plain sight. Her journey was a beacon, illuminating the path for others to follow. One afternoon, as she walked through the headquarters, Lisa overheard a conversation between two new hires admiring the multilingual signs and inclusive culture. Smiling to herself, she thought about how far the company had come and how much farther they could go. Her phone rang, It was an invitation to speak at the United Nations, to share her story on a global stage. The opportunity was daunting but exhilarating. Lisa accepted, knowing that every voice raised in pursuit of justice and inclusion mattered. Her journey from janitor to leader was far from over. It was evolving into a movement that could change the world. As she prepared for this next chapter, Lisa reflected on the words that had carried her through the darkest nights and brightest days: belief, resilience, and the power of lifting others as you rise. Her story was no longer just about her. It was about all of us. The United Nations headquarters in New York was unlike anything Lisa had ever experienced. The grand marble halls echoed with voices from every corner of the globe, a symphony of languages and ideas that seemed to breathe life into the very walls. Standing there, preparing to speak on such a monumental stage, Lisa felt the full weight of her journey, from sweeping floors in a quiet office building to addressing world leaders and diplomats about diversity, inclusion, and hidden talent. She adjusted her microphone and took a deep breath, reminding herself why she was here. This wasn't about personal glory. It was about shining a light on stories like hers, stories of potential overlooked and brilliance waiting to be recognized. When her name was called, she walked confidently to the podium, the room falling into a hush. Lisa began by recounting her early days as a janitor, sharing how her multilingual skills had been invisible to those around her, until one pivotal moment when the CEO overheard her switching effortlessly between languages. That moment changed everything, not just for her but for an entire company that would soon embrace new ideas about talent and leadership. She spoke passionately about the power of giving people the chance to rise beyond expectations, to break free from stereotypes and systemic barriers. Lisa described how her own promotion sparked a ripple effect, inspiring initiatives that transformed the corporate culture and opened doors for many who had previously been ignored. The audience listened intently as she emphasized that inclusion was not just a moral imperative, but a business necessity. Companies and governments needed to tap into the full spectrum of human potential to solve today's complex problems. She called on leaders to create environments where everyone's voice could be heard and valued. After her speech, the applause was thunderous. Delegates from different countries approached her, eager to discuss collaboration and implementation. Invitations to participate in panels, workshops, and policy discussions followed. Lisa felt both exhilarated and humbled. The platform was vast, and the responsibility enormous. Back in her hotel room later that evening, Lisa reflected on how far she had come, the faces of colleagues, friends, and family flooding her mind. She thought of Marcus and Tanya, whose unwavering belief had anchored her. She thought of Jasmine, whose success was a beacon of hope. She knew that this was just the beginning of a new chapter. In the weeks that followed, Lisa's work took on a global dimension. She partnered with NGOs, multinational corporations, and educational institutions to design programs that identified and nurtured untapped talent. Her story was featured in international media, inspiring countless individuals who had felt unseen or undervalued. Yet the expansion wasn't without challenges. Different cultures had varying perceptions of hierarchy, communication, and leadership. Lisa had to navigate complex political landscapes and sometimes resistance from those skeptical of change. There were moments of frustration when progress felt slow or setbacks threatened to undermine months of effort. Despite these obstacles, Lisa remained steadfast. She understood that true transformation required patience, empathy, and persistence. She leaned on her team's diverse expertise, encouraging open dialogue and continuous learning. Together, they adapted strategies to local contexts while holding fast to the core principles of inclusion and empowerment. At home, Marcus and Tanya noticed the toll the intense schedule was taking. Lisa often returned exhausted, yet her passion never waned. They reminded her to rest and recharge, understanding that sustaining such a demanding role meant caring for herself as much as others. One evening, after a particularly grueling day filled with meetings and travel, Lisa sat quietly, with Marcus on their apartment balcony. The city lights stretched out before them like stars fallen to earth. "Do you ever wonder if it's all worth it?" she asked softly. Marcus took her hand, his eyes steady and kind. "Every single day, but seeing you fight for what matters. That's what makes it all worthwhile." Their conversation grounded Lisa, reminding her of the personal connections that fueled her larger mission. She resolved to balance her public role with the private moments that nurtured her soul. As the months turned into a year, Lisa's initiatives began to bear measurable results. Companies reported increased innovation and employee satisfaction. Communities benefited from new educational and vocational programs. Individuals who once felt invisible now stood tall, their talents recognized and celebrated. Lisa's journey was a testament to the transformative power of opportunity and belief. The janitor who spoke 9 languages had not only changed her own life, but had become a catalyst for systemic change, inspiring a movement that crossed borders and industries. Her story continued to ripple outward, reminding everyone that sometimes the greatest leaders come from the most unexpected places. And that true leadership isn't about titles or status. It's about lifting others, breaking barriers, and creating space for everyone to thrive. As Lisa prepared for yet another speaking engagement, she felt a profound sense of gratitude and purpose. Her path had been filled with twists, challenges, and triumphs, but through it all one truth remained clear. When we believe in each other, extraordinary things happen. Lisa sat in the quiet conference room of the multinational corporation's headquarters, the soft hum of the city outside barely penetrating the thick glass walls. She was surrounded by a panel of executives, industry leaders, and HR directors, all eager to hear her insights on transforming workplace culture. The room was a far cry from the janitor's closet, where she once spent her nights cleaning floors, yet the memories of those days grounded her, reminding her of how much was at stake. The discussion began with statistics, employee retention rates, productivity numbers, and diversity indexes. Lisa listened carefully, nodding thoughtfully. Then it was her turn to speak. She leaned forward, voice steady but impassioned, as she shared the story of her unexpected promotion and the profound impact it had not only on her life, but on the company's culture. Her words painted a vivid picture, a hidden world of untapped potential within the company, where skills and talents often went unnoticed due to rigid hierarchies and outdated assumptions. She explained how she had used her language abilities to bridge communication gaps between departments, improve client relations, and foster a more inclusive environment. But more importantly, she emphasized the necessity of leadership willing to look beyond resumes and titles, to see the whole person. Questions followed, some supportive, others skeptical. One executive asked, "How do we identify these hidden talents without disrupting existing structures?" Lisa smiled, appreciating the challenge. "It starts with creating space," she replied. "Space for people to share their stories, their skills, and their passions. It means training managers to listen, to recognize potential in unexpected places. It means dismantling biases that limit opportunity." The conversation deepened as they explored concrete strategies, mentorship programs, language training, diversity, workshops, flexible career paths. Lisa shared examples from her experience, highlighting successes and lessons learned. The room, initially reserved, began to buzz with ideas and enthusiasm. Outside, the city's pulse quickened with the afternoon. Rush, but inside, a different kind of energy took hold. Hope, possibility, and determination. Lisa felt a surge of purpose. This was what she had been working toward all along, not just personal advancement, but systemic change that empowered everyone. Later, as she walked through the corridors, a group of young employees stopped her. They spoke with a mixture of admiration and curiosity, eager to learn from her journey. Lisa smiled warmly, answering their questions about perseverance, education, and self-belief. She encouraged them to embrace their unique gifts, to seek opportunities even when doors seemed closed. Back at her modest apartment, Lisa's phone buzzed with messages, invites to speak at conferences, offers to collaborate on diversity initiatives, heartfelt notes from people inspired by her story. The recognition was gratifying, yet she remained grounded, aware of the ongoing work ahead. One message stood out. It was from Jasmine, the young woman whose scholarship Lisa had helped secure. Jasmine's words were filled with hope and gratitude, describing her first semester at college and the new world opening before her. Lisa felt a swell of pride and reminded herself that every step forward was a victory, no matter how small. As evening settled, Lisa reflected on the balance she was learning to strike between public advocacy and private life, between ambition and humility. Marcus, ever her steadfast supporter, suggested a weekend getaway to recharge. "You can't pour from an empty cup," he said gently. Lisa agreed, knowing she needed moments of peace to sustain her fight. The next morning, she sat by the window, sipping coffee, watching the city wake. Her mind wandered back to her roots, the challenges she had faced growing up in a working-class neighborhood, the sacrifices her parents made, the friends who never got a chance to dream big. Those memories fueled her commitment to making sure no one else would be overlooked. Her journey was a testament to resilience and the unexpected paths life could take. From janitor to keynote speaker, from unseen to influential, Lisa's story was a beacon for those navigating their own struggles. It was proof that talent and determination, when met with opportunity, could break down barriers and change lives. The future was uncertain, filled with both promise and challenge, but Lisa welcomed it with open arms, ready to continue her mission. She knew the road ahead would be long, but every conversation, every connection, every change mattered, and so, with a heart full of hope and a mind sharpened by experience, Lisa stepped into the next chapter of her extraordinary journey, one that would inspire not just a company or a city, but potentially the entire world. The dawn light spilled gently through the blinds of Lisa's apartment as she sat at her kitchen table, a stack of papers and a steaming cup of coffee in front of her. The air was thick with anticipation, not just from the morning's calm, but because today marked the launch of her most ambitious project yet, a global mentorship program designed to connect young talents from underrepresented communities with experienced leaders across industries. It was a dream born from years of seeing potential wasted, and now it was coming to life. Months of preparation had led to this moment. Lisa had spent countless late nights coordinating with partners, tailoring curricula, and reaching out to schools and corporations worldwide. Each message she received from hopeful mentees fueled her drive. These young people, many of whom faced barriers Lisa knew all too well, were eager for guidance, for a chance to be seen and heard. As she reviewed the final agenda, her phone buzzed, with a message from Marcus. "Proud of you, you're changing the world." A smile touched her lips. Their partnership, both personal and professional, had been her anchor throughout the whirlwind journey. Marcus's unwavering belief kept her grounded, especially when the weight of expectations threatened to overwhelm. Lisa's phone rang. It was Jasmine, now a freshman at a prestigious university thanks to the scholarship Lisa had helped secure. "Ms. Thompson," Jasmine began excitedly, "I just got accepted to the Student Leadership Council. I wanted to thank you again. Your support really made a difference." Lisa's heart swelled. Moments like these reminded her why every struggle, every late night, every risk was worth it. Later that day, in a bustling conference hall filled with eager faces from across the globe, Lisa took the stage once again. This time, she wasn't just sharing her story. She was launching a movement. The room was alive with energy as she unveiled the mentorship platform, explaining how it would break down geographical, economic, and social barriers. The program's emphasis was on connection, empowerment, and fostering leadership in those who often felt invisible. Her speech wove together her personal journey and a broader call to action. She spoke of the importance of language, both spoken and unspoken, in building bridges. The 9 languages she had mastered symbolized not just communication, but understanding, respect, and opportunity. "When we listen deeply to each other," Lisa declared, "we open doors to collaboration and change." The response was overwhelming. Organizations pledged resources, volunteers signed up in droves, and soon the program's digital platform was flooded with registrations from aspiring mentees and mentors alike. Lisa found herself at the center of a rapidly growing community, a network bound by shared purpose and hope. Yet as the program expanded, so did the challenges. Coordinating across time zones, cultures, and languages required constant adaptation. Some regions struggled with internet access. Others faced cultural resistance to mentorship models. Lisa worked tirelessly to address these issues, often staying up late to troubleshoot technical problems or mediate conflicts. In one memorable instance, a young woman from a rural village in Kenya shared her frustrations with feeling isolated and doubted. Lisa arranged for her to connect with a mentor in Nairobi who had overcome similar obstacles. Watching their relationship blossom reaffirmed the program's impact and Lisa's belief in the power of human connection. Amid the whirlwind of global growth, Lisa also confronted moments of doubt. The enormity of the task sometimes made her question if one person's efforts could truly shift entrenched systems. But every success story, every message of thanks, every small breakthrough rekindled her resolve. One evening, after a long day of meetings, Lisa received a call from her CEO, Mr. Graham. His voice carried genuine admiration as he said, "Lisa, I've been following your progress closely. Your vision is transforming this company and beyond. I want to discuss how we can support your work on a larger scale." The conversation was a milestone, official recognition of her influence and an invitation to integrate her programs into the company's core strategy. As the year progressed, Lisa's role evolved. She became not only a mentor and advocate, but a strategic leader shaping policies around diversity and inclusion at the highest levels. Her presence challenged old norms, inspiring a shift from performative gestures to authentic, measurable change. At home, Marcus noticed the toll this new level of responsibility took on her. He gently urged her to take breaks, to find moments of joy outside the work. One weekend, they escaped to a quiet lakeside cabin where Lisa rediscovered the simple pleasure of nature's calm. The stillness rejuvenated her spirit, reminding her that self-care was not a luxury but a necessity. Back in the office, Lisa gathered her team for a candid conversation about the future. They brainstormed ways to deepen impact, enhance accessibility, and ensure sustainability. The sense of shared mission was palpable, a testament to the culture Lisa had helped nurture. Reflecting on her journey, Lisa understood that her story was part of something larger, a collective movement toward equity and recognition of human potential. The languages she spoke were more than words. They were symbols of connection, resilience, and hope. As she prepared for another round of international engagements, Lisa felt a profound sense of purpose. The path had been long and filled with unexpected turns, but each step reaffirmed her belief that when we open our eyes to hidden talents and give others a chance to shine, we don't just change individual lives, we change the world. Lisa sat at her desk late into the night, the soft glow of her laptop screen casting shadows on the walls of her small apartment. The city outside was quiet now, but inside her mind, a storm was brewing. The mentorship program she had worked so hard to build was expanding faster than she had anticipated. The influx of applicants was overwhelming, the logistical challenges more complex, and yet the heart of the mission, the people, remained her constant source of strength. She thought back to the day when Marcus had first encouraged her to dream bigger, reminding her that her voice mattered. It was that belief, rooted in love and unwavering support, that had carried her through the hardest times. But now, with new opportunities, came new pressures. Lisa felt the weight of responsibility, settling heavily on her shoulders. Could she keep up? Could she continue to be the leader her community needed? Her phone buzzed with a message from Jasmine, now preparing for her sophomore year at university. "Hey, Ms. Thompson," Jasmine wrote, "I'm thinking of starting a mentorship group on campus inspired by your program. Could we talk? I want to make a difference here too." Lisa smiled. Moments like this reminded her that change was spreading, not just through her efforts but through those she had inspired. The next morning, Lisa arrived early at the company's headquarters for a strategy meeting. Mr. Graham, the CEO, was there, along with key executives. They had been impressed with Lisa's initiative from the start, and were eager to see how her program could align with the company's broader diversity goals. "Lisa," Mr. Graham began, "your work is exceptional. We want to offer more resources and integrate your program across all our divisions. But with growth comes complexity. How can we support you to maintain the program's core values while scaling up?" Lisa took a deep breath, grateful for the recognition but mindful of the challenges ahead. "We need to stay grounded in the community," she replied. "Technology is a powerful tool, but we can't lose sight of the personal connections that make mentorship effective. It's about listening, understanding cultural differences, and creating trust." The executives nodded, and a robust discussion followed about funding, staffing, and outreach strategies. Lisa realized this was a pivotal moment, not just for the program, but for her own role within the company. She would need to balance leadership with empathy, innovation with tradition. After the meeting, Lisa returned to her office where her team awaited with updates and ideas. The energy was contagious. They brainstormed ways to expand the language resources on the platform, ensuring accessibility for users who spoke everything from Swahili to Mandarin. Lisa suggested hosting virtual, cultural exchange sessions, where mentors and mentees could share stories and learn from each other's experiences. That afternoon, a video call connected Lisa with a group of students from a small town in Louisiana. Their voices were shy at first, but as Lisa encouraged them, their enthusiasm grew. They spoke of dreams to become doctors, engineers, teachers, ambitions that often felt distant in their community. Lisa promised she would work to bring more local mentors their way, bridging the gap between their hopes and reality. As the weeks passed, the mentorship program blossomed in unexpected ways. Alumni like Jasmine began taking leadership roles, creating ripple effects of empowerment. Lisa's own profile within the company grew, and she was invited to speak at conferences and panels, sharing her story and advocating for inclusive leadership. Yet, the journey was not without setbacks. Some mentors struggled with cultural misunderstandings, technical glitches disrupted sessions. A few mentees felt discouraged when progress was slow. Lisa faced each obstacle with patience, reminding her team and herself that transformation takes time. One evening, a message from an older woman named Rosa caught Lisa's attention. Rosa, a former immigrant who had learned English later in life, shared how the program had reignited her confidence to pursue a community leadership role. "You gave me a voice when I thought I was too late," Rosa wrote. Lisa was moved to tears. It was moments like these that underscored the profound human impact behind every statistic. Through all this, Marcus remained her steadfast supporter. They celebrated victories together, found solace in shared struggles, and dreamed of the future they were building. Marcus often reminded Lisa to pause, to care for herself as fiercely as she cared for others. One crisp autumn morning, Lisa stood before a packed auditorium, ready to accept an award recognizing her contributions to social innovation. As she looked out at the sea of faces, students, professionals, company leaders, and community members, she felt a surge of gratitude. This wasn't just her achievement, it was a collective triumph born from resilience, hope, and the courage to speak out. In her acceptance speech, Lisa spoke candidly about the journey, the doubts, the failures, the breakthroughs. "We all have the power to change lives," she said, "but it starts with listening. Listening to those who are often unheard. When we open our minds and hearts, barriers crumble and new possibilities emerge." Backstage, as applause filled the room, Lisa knew the road ahead was still long, but she also knew she was no longer walking it alone. The seeds she had planted were growing, nurtured by a community determined to rise together. That night, as she returned home, Lisa sat by her window gazing at the city lights. The languages she spoke, the stories she carried, and the connections she fostered had woven a tapestry of hope that stretched far beyond her own life. And with that thought, she allowed herself a rare moment of peace, ready to face whatever challenges tomorrow might bring. The success of Lisa's mentorship program was becoming a beacon, not just within the company, but across the entire city. Invitations to speak at schools, community centers, and even government forums began piling up. The work was rewarding, Yet it brought new challenges, challenges that tested Lisa's resolve and pushed her to grow in ways she hadn't anticipated. 1. That afternoon, Lisa found herself sitting in a boardroom at the company's headquarters, facing a panel of skeptical executives. They were impressed with her progress, but voiced concerns about the costs involved and the scalability of the program. "Lisa," one executive said, tapping a pen against the polished table, "we appreciate your passion, but this initiative has to be sustainable. How do you plan to maintain growth without overextending resources?" Lisa met their gaze steadily, refusing to let the hint of doubt unsettle her. "Sustainability comes from community ownership," she explained. "If we invest in training local mentors and create partnerships with other organizations, the program won't just rely on corporate funding. It will grow organically, fueled by people who care deeply about this work." A few nods of approval circled the room, but some faces remained doubtful. Lisa knew this was a pivotal moment. It wasn't just about proving the program's value, it was about securing trust for the future. After the meeting, Lisa walked through the bustling lobby, the weight of responsibility, heavy but tempered by determination. She thought about how far she had come, from the janitor who once cleaned floors quietly, to a respected leader shaping lives. The memory of the day Mr. Graham overheard her effortlessly switch between 9 languages still warmed her heart. That moment had been a catalyst, but everything that followed was built on years of silent perseverance and an unshakable belief in the power of connection. Back at her office, Lisa's phone buzzed with a message from Jasmine. The young woman was spearheading the campus mentorship program and had just secured funding from the student government. "This is just the beginning," Jasmine wrote. "Thank you for showing me what's possible." Lisa smiled, feeling a surge of pride. She typed back, "Keep pushing forward. The world needs your voice." That evening, she attended a community event celebrating local leaders. The room was filled with vibrant energy, families, activists, educators, all united by a shared commitment to uplift their neighborhoods. Lisa was invited to speak, and, standing at the podium, she shared her journey in a way that resonated deeply with everyone present. "Sometimes," she said, "the greatest strength lies in the stories we think no one hears. Every language I speak represents a culture, a history, a dream. But more importantly, it represents people who deserve to be seen, heard, and supported." After her speech, an elderly woman approached her, tears glistening in her eyes. "You remind me of my granddaughter," she said softly. "Strong, brave, and full of heart. Keep fighting for us." Lisa held her hand, feeling the connection across generations and experiences. It was moments like this that reminded her why the work mattered. Not the accolades or the speeches, but the lives touched, the hope ignited. Back at home, Lisa reflected on the journey. The challenges weren't over. There were always new obstacles, but she had learned to embrace uncertainty with grace. She realized that leadership wasn't about having all the answers. It was about listening, adapting, and empowering others to rise alongside her. She thought about Marcus, whose quiet strength and unwavering faith had been her anchor. Their late-night conversations, filled with laughter and shared dreams, kept her grounded amid the whirlwind of change. "You're not alone," he always said, "and neither is anyone who believes in something bigger than themselves." As Lisa prepared for bed, her phone lit up with a message from Mr. Graham. "Let's discuss next steps for expanding the program nationally," it read. The words brought a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. Lying in the dark, Lisa felt a deep sense of gratitude. From the janitor's closet where she once whispered foreign phrases, to the stage where she now inspired hundreds, her journey had been shaped by courage, community, and the unbreakable human spirit. Tomorrow was another day, another chapter, waiting to be written, and Lisa was ready. The morning sun filtered gently through the window as Lisa stood at the threshold of the company's headquarters once again. But this time, the building didn't feel like a cage of unseen barriers or whispered judgments. Instead, it was a symbol of transformation, not just for her, but for everyone who had believed in her journey. Today marked the launch of the national expansion of her mentorship program, a dream that once seemed impossible. Lisa's story was no longer just about a janitor who spoke 9 languages. It was about the power of perseverance, of breaking down invisible walls, and of creating spaces where every voice could be heard. Walking through the lobby, she caught familiar faces, colleagues, mentees, executives, all united by a vision of possibility. The air buzzed with excitement, but beneath it was something deeper, respect earned and trust built through hard work and authenticity. As she took her place on the stage in the grand auditorium, the crowd quieted, eyes fixed on her. She began to speak, her voice steady but filled with emotion. This journey started with a simple moment, an overheard conversation that changed the course of my life. But what followed was not magic. It was dedication, community, and belief. Belief that our stories matter, that our dreams deserve space to grow. She shared stories of the young people who had been touched by the program, the struggles they faced, and the victories, big and small, that had lit the way forward. The audience listened intently, moved by the raw honesty and hope that poured. From her words, it was clear this wasn't just a professional accomplishment, it was a mission of the heart. After the event, Lisa found herself surrounded by supporters, old friends, and new faces. Marcus was there, his smile wide and eyes shining with pride. He pulled her aside, his voice soft but firm. "You've changed the world, Lisa. Not just here, but out there where it counts." She squeezed his hand, feeling the weight of everything they'd overcome together. The sacrifices, the late nights, the moments of doubt, they had all led to this point. Later, alone in her office, Lisa reflected on the path she had traveled. The janitor's uniform, once a symbol of invisibility, now hung in a place of honor as a reminder of humble beginnings. The languages she spoke were not just skills, but bridges that connected cultures and built understanding. More importantly, her story had become a beacon for others who had ever felt overlooked or underestimated. She thought of Mr. Graham, the CEO who had taken a chance on her, recognizing the brilliance hidden beneath her modest role. His faith had unlocked a door, but it was her own determination that had carried her through. She hoped her journey would inspire leaders everywhere to look beyond appearances and invest in untapped potential. As the days turned into months, Lisa's program flourished. New partnerships were formed, more mentors were trained, and the ripple effect grew stronger. Communities once overlooked found new pathways to opportunity, fueled by the belief that every person, regardless of their starting point, deserved a chance to shine. One afternoon, Lisa received a call from a young woman who had been part of the earliest cohorts. Her voice trembled with gratitude as she shared how the mentorship had helped her enroll in college and start a career she loved. "You believed in me when no one else did," she said. "You showed me that my voice mattered." Tears welled up in Lisa's eyes. This was the true reward, knowing that her work was changing lives in ways beyond any promotion or title. Looking back, Lisa understood that her journey was never just about personal success. It was about breaking cycles, challenging stereotypes, and lighting a path for others to follow. The janitor who spoke 9 languages had become a leader who spoke for many. Her story was a testament to the human spirit's resilience, the impact of kindness, and the unyielding power of hope. In the end, Lisa knew that life's greatest victories were not measured by accolades, but by the lives touched and the barriers broken. And as she looked toward the future, she felt ready, not just to lead, but to continue learning, growing, and lifting others along the way. The world was vast, filled with untold stories waiting to be heard, and Lisa was determined to make sure none of them would ever be overlooked again. Hit subscribe and leave a comment with where you're watching from. This story might just spark a new beginning. What's one thing that always pushes you forward, even when things get tough?